Alright, so if you guys were tuning in yesterday, we did the top 10 LRs in the game, so what better way to transition from the LRs to the top 10 TURs in the game? This is coming out before the worldwide download celebration of 2023, so if you're watching that after that and there's a new Dokkan Fest that, you know, trumps these guys completely, then just know that this was made before that. You guys can see kind of the general pool of units that we're going to be looking at. Some of these are on here as a joke, some of them are not. I'll let you determine which ones are. But here we go. This is kind of like the general idea. Now remember, again, quick disclaimers that you always have to put before these tier lists because people are dramatic, if you will. My list, in my opinion, from my experience using them within the game, dupe level, it varies from unit to unit. I do not have all of these units at 100%, so I can't give you my experience with them being at their best. This is just kind of the land of the law sometimes with this stuff. So, you can see from the list here, let's start at number 10. Now, at number 10, I have the... What I should have done is made an honorable mentions tab and moved everybody. So, let me do that just so it makes things a little bit clearer. I'll be right back. Okay, now that looks a little bit easier to read, right? Now we can kind of see. So, coming in at number 10, this one might come as a bit of a shock to you. Maybe not, but I have the tech androids. Now, the tech androids, they have aged. They are almost 2 years old. But they have this timeless active skill that in difficult content will get you completely out of jail free. A Ghost Usher, moving attacks to the next turn and all that. This is just an absolute savior of a mechanic. You know, they have the ability to nullify supers. They have a chance to get an additional super when their HP is low. It's just, they do a lot. And I think that personally, that Ghost Usher taking away attacks from a certain enemy is just one of those invaluable things. Now, you could argue some of these units that are not going to make the top 10 are over the androids, but in my experience using them, in EZAs that are at super high levels, like in the 500s to 600s, this is a unit you can run off leader. You can run, really, it's like PyCon, where so long as you have the Ghost Usher ability, they're going to find a way into unique or difficult content, so long as you can kind of hide them and make them look okay. So, in my opinion, the androids are at number 10. So, let's move on to number 9. And at number 9, I have Physical Turles. So, with Physical Turles, this is one of those interesting cases where I think there is a lot of room for this guy to get better, but it's not here just quite yet. You have the banner units that give him a lot of support, and he can look really impressive on a good turn, but the problem is with him is that the supporting cast is just not there, and I hold a lot of value to that, because without a supporting cast and a unit just looking impressive on their own, it's just sometimes it's not enough, because like you run this guy on specific teams and it's just not going to work because this guy needs the help and he does not have it at the moment. So personally, I have him at number, I just realized I mixed up 7 and 8, but I have this guy at number 9. I think that that's fair enough. I would honestly, I think that's just a good spot for him. So coming in at number 9, I have Physical Turles. Now coming in at number 8, I have this new Dokkan Fest Super Trunks. Now, Super Trunks, again, is kind of a weird case of a unit where he has a really good active skill, and that active skill and he becomes Super Trunks is pretty cracked, but he is just a very RNG based unit, and honestly I don't like that. When I think of top 5 TURs and think of top 3 TURs, I want consistency, and with consistency it is not this Trunks strong suit. Now unfortunately, when I'm seeing this Trunks, this is one of these units that I do not have, him and Turles, so in good faith I cannot put them any higher or lower than that. I think Trunks being the newest Dokkan Fest TUR usually is going to result in him being at least, you know, in the top 10 range. And I think that's the case. Like this, I've seen showcases, I've seen the kit with this Trunks. He can look super impressive, but he's just not all there for me. So I think 8 is a good spot for him. One of the better TURs in the game, just not the best. So I think 8's a good spot for him. Let's move into number 7. Coming in at number 7, I have Gamma 2. Now, Gamma 2, linked up with Gamma 1, is still one of the better rotations in the game. Unfortunately, they've just kind of, what's the word? I don't want to say like, he is kind of like what Trunks is, where especially in the content like the Cell Max missions for Special Pose, you are relying on him to get crits, you're relying on him to do all that damage and get as many supers in as possible, so it comes down to RNG. And so obviously if Gamma 2 is on this list, Gamma 1 is going to be on here. And why do I have Gamma 1 higher? It's simple. He just has more, he's just more consistent, right? The damage reduction, the guard in slot 1, the defensive build up as you go. That is just personally where I have Gamma 1 higher than Gamma 2, just because consistency is everything in a game like this, and when Gamma 1 has that, that's why I would have him over Gamma 2. So Gamma 2 can look super impressive with his attacks. He nullifies the AoE in the Red Zone Broly fight, which is super, super important. As that is one of the hardest phases in the game of any fight with that AoE super. It's taking out a lot of the best units in the game, and there's not really much you can do about it. So I think Gamma 2, again, this is a super, super good unit, but unfortunately just needs a little bit, of RNG for him to really look his best. So that's going to move us into our number 6 spot. And coming in at number 6, I have TUR AGL Kale. So with AGL Kale, she can look just ungodly impressive with the amount of attacks she's doing, with the attack stats she's putting out. But again, the big problem with her is kind of similar to the problem with Turles, where her best partner right now is AGL Kale and Caulifla, and they are a runnable EZA at worst, I would say, but they just do not have that kind of status over the game where they're going to ever look like the best TUR in the game, or Trunks, or I'll get this. Kale and Caulifla are never going to look like the best unit in the game, therefore Kale is never going to be at her full potential because she does not have that viable partner that she can put in slot 1 consistently, and overall I think that just kind of puts her down a couple of notches. Say Kale and Caulifla were like as good as they were when they came out, then that would be a different story. But you know, she's just like, she can look really impressive, but if Kale and Caulifla, if the cast around them was reliable for slot 1 and other things like that, then I would probably put her closer to the 4 or 3 range, but unfortunately she's going to be a notch below 5 and 4. So coming in at number 5, I have Gamma 1. Now this is where things do get a little bit controversial, I'd say. Gamma 1 is a little bit better than Gamma 2 just because of how consistently he is with defense and other things like that. He fits well on a lot of teams. Him and Gamma 2 are just a solid rotation. I kind of talked about him when I talked about Gamma 2, but the guard that he has, the damage reduction, the ability to float him, the ability to use him as a slot 1 unit, the defensive buildup he takes per hit. You can run him on the superhero team, which is obviously super valuable because you could have 2 Piccolos at the same time, and this guy's going to fit in, look pretty, and usually not sell the run for you. Sometimes you can get super unlucky, but that's where I'd say. Honestly, 4 and 5, I could say you could easily flip-flop, but I'd say the top 3 are pretty set in stone for me, at least in terms of who they are. Positions are always subjective, but number 4, if you look at this list, it should be pretty obvious who the top 4 are, but let's go ahead and move on to number 4, and that is Path to Power Kid Goku. So Path to Power Kid Goku, what I like about this guy is the intangibles that he does. If you run him with Hachan, that is one of the craziest rotations in the game. Maybe his defense could be a little bit higher, but giving support with damage reduction and giving damage reduction to some of the best units in the game that do not have damage reduction, I'd say is really valuable. He has a decent leader skill that covers a lot of categories. He links up, he's a good unit to have with LR Balma. He's good to have with Hachan. He's good to run on the Movie Heroes team. There's just a lot of different ways that you can run this guy, and then he also gives damage reduction for himself. He's a Rainbow Orb Changer. He puts out 10 million, 11 million attack stats with ease, does additional supers, has a slot 1 partner that's just a complete wall in Hachan, and you know, you have a unit like Balma that you can link him up with, and I think that overall leads to a very good unit. So this guy being the 4th best TUR in the game, I would certainly say is not an insult, but I'd say that is a fair spot for him. A little bit below the newer TURs that came out after him, but right on the cusp of it. So, at number 3, this is where things get kind of mixed and match, right? I have Int Piccolo Jr. So, Int Piccolo Jr., I know, not number 1. A lot of people would say that's blasphemy, but I think the problem with Piccolo Jr., and I have his kit pulled up here, is not that he is bad, but the content that he is centered and the king for is not exactly content that we are too focused on at the moment. He has the ability to just absolutely shred Super Battle Road and Extreme Super Battle Road, and is obviously the World Tournament King, right? But when you look at this guy, it's the lack of the gimmicks, right? It's the lack of the damage reduction. It's the lack of the guard. It's the lack of the evasion chance. It's the, you know, we have a lot of defense here, but high numbers in 2023 are not enough because some of these supers, right, you know, it's like the gimmicks that he has are attacks effective against all types against one enemy, the active skill against multiple enemies, the ability to break action. Don't get me wrong, this guy is absolutely insane. When I say you're the 3rd best TUR in the game, that is not an insult. That is completely a compliment. Turning into giant form does all of the locking and stuff like that, and that is obviously super helpful. But I feel like the short form content is where this guy's focus is, and unfortunately right now the meta and the power creep of the game has made short form content a little bit easier to do, and really you can just throw just about anybody in and have certain units like Piccolo Jr. and you'll be ready to go, right? So number 3, I think that's the good spot for him. And it's not, like I said, it's not an insult at all. It's just, unfortunately, I think number 3 is the best spot, but you can easily argue he is 2 or 1, and I would really have no problems with it. So coming in at number 2, and you know, I guess in this one, the honorable mentions would be kind of brief. Like you guys can tell just by looking, some of these guys are on here as jokes, but coming in at number 2, I have God Goku. So that would also lead to number 1 being 23rd World Tournament Goku. So God Goku. Self-sufficient with his orb changing, has guard, has dodging, does additional supers, just does a whole lot, right? Like, so like if we pull him up, let me pull him up just so we can talk about it, right? I want everybody to be on the same page here, right? With God Goku, we have, he's one of those weird units where you don't want to transform with him, which is kind of annoying, but we have dodge chance, we have guard, we have, where is the other thing that I was looking at, right? Additional attack and defense plus 50% and a chance of evading enemy super attack, including super attacks, plus 30% with 3 or more key spheres. That's basically free. After the intro, you get the orb changing. You get attack and defense plus 150%. We get an active skill, which you don't really want to use, to be honest, but you can use it. And then you get an additional attack buff after the 4th super attack in the battle, so that's usually going to be around turn 5 if you get him on turn 1. It's just, this guy can look a little bit suspect when his guard wears off. And if you wanted to say that Piccolo is a little bit better, honestly, as I'm reading this, I can see why you would say that, but I think we're going to keep it the way it is. I think just the way that God Goku, the sheer amount of categories he's on, the link set that he has, the people he can link with, you can see some of his better linking partners down here are kind of bad just because they're old, but like this Kaioken Blue Goku, but there's plenty of guys he's sharing 4 links with, which is good, more than enough with a lot of cases. You have this active skill that does a ton of damage, and really it's just, with this guy, it's like, you know, launches an additional super attack. So when you get that 6 key, you guard all attacks and also get an additional, which is another 40% raise, right, to your defense. So you are getting quite a bit on this. And I think that this guy just overall, with how consistent he's going to look, and it can fade a little bit, right? Like, let's keep it real. Like, you can get caught. You can also get caught with Piccolo. So I think number 2 is the best spot for this God Goku, right in between the Golden Week units. So number 1, World Tournament, 23rd World Tournament Goku. With 23rd World Tournament Goku, now, before his revival, he's not the best unit in the game, or before a unit revives, but after a unit revives, he's the best, like the best TUR in the game, right? This guy is putting out 3 10 million plus attack stats, super effective against all types. He is a wall, he can't be hit, and the teams that he works on, he works well with the GT duo, and it's super easy to get their revival, and it's not an issue at all. You put this guy with nice synergy amongst the rest of the game. He's a base Goku, so his link set's going to be fine. His leader skill is cracked. Earthbred Fighters is just a stupid team, and you know, you run everybody that's on that team, and it's just like, it's so easy, right? 23rd World Tournament Goku is somebody you can run in any event. He's going to maybe not steal the show, but he's going to look really good, really solid. And, you know, you just have a lot of different cases for this guy, I'd say, that makes him number 1. So when you look at just like kind of the overall scale of things with the revival that he, with the unit that has revival, like you just run him with the GT duo and you're good to go. So the only real case that I could see that you argue against him not being number 1 is if you run him on a team without a revival, but that's also like running a unit that needs allies for damage reduction and you don't run the allies and say he sucks, right? So that's my list. This is 10 to 1. Honorable mentions, if we kind of take like the meme characters out, I'd take Raditz out, obviously the Kid Boos, Janemba, androids, and honestly, I think that's fine for the honorable mentions, right? Pan can look super nice now that she has that GT Super Saiyan 4 Goku to run around with. She looks a little bit more impressive. Nothing perfect, but can look okay. Yamcha is on here because he has a very good leader skill, can look impressive as an AoE active skill, stuff like that. Ginyu is still just solid. I have no issues with Ginyu. The defensive stacking abilities that he has, the Ginyu Force team, the synergy that he works with that. Just a little bit power crept at this point. The units hit a little bit harder, and it makes him hard to get his defense all the way up. So it looks impressive, and then Tech Gohan is just the ageless wonder. Guaranteed guard with everything, no conditions, nothing to worry about. I'd say just makes him just really consistent. He's just a meme, but he's on here because he's always going to be on here, right? So let me know what you think below of this list. Who would you change? Who would you move up? Who would you move down? And that's all I got for you. So don't forget to leave a like if you did enjoy, subscribe if you are new, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on a future list or any of my Dokkan content. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.